as we see the collective punishment being imposed upon Palestinians in Gaza. I rise to say that this level of punishment is something that is intolerable and has to be addressed. I rise to say that not only is there collective punishment, there is ethnic cleansing taking place in Gaza. I rise to say that at some point, we in this Congress have to take a stand against the injustice being perpetrated against innocent Palestinian men, women, and especially children.
Welcome back to Right View Nation, where we don't apologize for being American, we don't stay silent when the left loses its mind, and we sure as hell don't bow down to anti-American propaganda. Now folks, I just watched something that flat out disgusted me. Representative Al Green took to the House floor and launched into one of the most shameless, dangerous, and frankly un-American rants I've heard in a long time. Let me tell you something. When a sitting U.S. congressman stands up, not to condemn Hamas, not to call out terrorism, not to stand with Israel, our greatest ally in the Middle East, but instead accuses them of ethnic cleansing, collective punishment, and being a pariah nation, we've crossed into dangerous territory. Al Green's speech wasn't about justice. It wasn't about peace. It was a performative leftist tantrum designed to cater to the growing anti-Israel, pro-Hamas wing of the Democrat Party. You know, the squad mentality, the blame America first crowd. That's who he was talking to. Not you. Not me. Not Americans who want to see terrorism defeated and our allies supported. Let's break it down. Green starts off with the usual melodrama. I rise unbought, unbossed, and unafraid. Yeah, well maybe you should also rise with a spine and a sense of moral clarity, Congressman. Instead of condemning Hamas, the very group that rapes, beheads, and tortures civilians, he goes on a tirade against Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East. The nation that has shown restraint over and over again while being constantly bombarded with rockets and terrorist attacks. This wasn't a speech about justice. This was political theater, and dangerous theater at that. He accused Israel of ethnic cleansing. Think about how outrageous that is. Ethnic cleansing? From the same country that warns civilians before airstrikes, that uses precision targeting to avoid casualties, and that is literally fighting a terrorist network embedded in schools, hospitals, and residential buildings? Ethnic cleansing isn't what Israel is doing, it's what Hamas wants. They've said it openly, they want to wipe Israel off the map. That's not a conspiracy. That's in their charter. But of course, Al Green says nothing about that. Nothing about the hostages, nothing about the murdered families, nothing about the funding Hamas gets from Iran, or the fact that Hamas uses its own people as human shields. Instead, he turns all his rage toward Israel, and somehow even manages to blame Donald Trump. That's right. In true leftist fashion, Al Green found a way to inject Trump derangement syndrome into the mix. He accused President Trump of aiding and abetting ethnic cleansing. Why? Because Trump had a plan for economic prosperity in the region and dared to think big about peace, something no Democrat has managed to do without weakening America in the process. What President Trump did was historic. He brought Arab nations to the table with Israel. The Abraham Accords were working. He cut through decades of failed diplomacy and got people talking. But that's not what the left wants. They don't want peace unless it comes with tearing down America, tearing down Israel, and handing power to terrorists. You want to talk about injustice? Let's talk about injustice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and still I rise, unbought, unbossed, and unafraid. I rise driven by conscience to embrace the moral imperative to speak truth not only to power, but to also speak truth about power. And I rise today to acknowledge, driven by conscience, what the world is witnessing as we see the collective punishment being imposed upon Palestinians in Gaza. I rise to say that this level of punishment is something that is intolerable and has to be addressed. I rise to say that not only is there collective punishment, there is ethnic cleansing taking place in Gaza. I rise to say that at some point, we in this Congress have to take a stand against the injustice being perpetrated against innocent Palestinian men, women, and especially children. This level of injustice is something that this country has always stood against, but we find ourselves today standing with Mr. Netanyahu and the government that is bringing shame to the country of Israel. Israel should never do what it despises. I believe that the country of Israel would despise this level of punishment, this level of injustice being perpetrated upon another country. Yet we find today that Mr. Netanyahu, under his leadership, Israel is gaining a reputation as a pariah country. Mr. Speaker, to add insult to this grave injury, the United States of America is aiding and abetting by and through President Donald John Trump, aiding and abetting by simply having him conclude that somehow Gaza should become a resort of a sort, and that the Palestinians would be moved to some other place. That is a form of nouveau ethnic cleansing. I do not support it. And I want the world to know that if in this bill, this big, beautiful bill that the president would have us sign off on, that I'm already antithetical to, but if there is money in that bill to support the continued ethnic cleansing, the continued inhumanity that's taking place against the Palestinians, I cannot support that. I will not vote to send more money to see innocent men, women, and especially children slaughtered the way it is taking place right before our very eyes. And the unfortunate thing is, there are too many among us who are afraid to speak up. Well, I refuse to be among those who at this time of challenging controversy, who will sit and cower. I'm going to take a stand, not because it benefits me personally, but because conscience says we cannot allow these injustices to go unpunished. Driven by conscience to say that I won't be supporting sending any additional dollars to Israel, having already sent and voted for more than $50 billion. Nobody can accuse me of not being a supporter of Israel. I've supported it. But I can't support the Netanyahu administration and what it's doing to the country of Israel, and I can't support what's happening in my country as our president would embrace this ethnic cleansing. This is the hour of decision. This is a time for every person of goodwill to make a decision. I stand for peace in Palestine and a two-state solution. There are those who say that there is no plan for the interregnum, what we call the day after. Mr. Netanyahu does have a plan. It is to take all of Palestine. It is to take all of Gaza. It is to take the West Bank. He has a plan. Don't assume that because he's going in without our permission that he doesn't have a plan. He does. My plan is to vote against any additional funds to the state of Israel. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman.
Where was Al Green's outrage when Hamas launched thousands of rockets into civilian neighborhoods? Where was the passionate speech when Israeli children were murdered in their sleep? When terrorists infiltrated Israeli homes and butchered families? Silence. That's where he was. And let me ask you another question. How about outrage over Christians being slaughtered across the Middle East? How about the ethnic cleansing of Jews in Arab countries over the last century? Nope. That doesn't fit the narrative. Because the left doesn't want balance. They want a villain, and in their twisted world, the villain is always Israel, always America, and always conservatives who dare to speak up. Let's be clear, this isn't about helping Palestinians. This is about demonizing one of America's closest allies to score cheap political points with the radical fringe. It's about signaling to the activist mobs on Twitter and TikTok that you're woke enough to get their approval. Green says he won't vote to send any more money to Israel. Good. Sit this one out. The rest of us will make sure that civilization triumphs over terrorism. Because what Israel is doing is defending its people. What the United States should be doing is standing shoulder to shoulder with them, sending them the support they need to root out Hamas, destroy the terror tunnels, and secure a future where innocent civilians on both sides aren't being used as pawns by bloodthirsty radicals. So to every American watching this who still believes in truth, justice, and standing by our allies, don't be fooled by this emotionally manipulative garbage. This isn't the time to cower. It's the time to be bold. We must call out this anti-Israel rhetoric for what it is: dangerous, divisive, and designed to make America weaker. At Right View Nation, we stand with Israel. We stand with peace through strength. And we stand against the woke mob that has hijacked the Democratic Party and turned it into a circus of appeasement and identity politics. Enough is enough. If we let this kind of speech go unchallenged, if we let the left rewrite reality, we're going to lose more than just a political battle. We're going to lose the moral clarity that made America the greatest nation on earth. So what can you do, Patriot? Like this video. Share it with every freedom-loving American. Subscribe to Right View Nation. Drop a comment below. Do you stand with Israel? Or do you think we've gone soft on terror? We're not backing down. We're not staying quiet. And we're sure as hell not apologizing. This is Right View Nation. Stay loud. Stay free. Stay patriotic. God bless America. God bless Israel. And God help us all if we let people like Al Green speak for this country.